Now, on the legislative evolution, as I said, the Puttaswamy judgment set the ball rolling, KS Puttaswamy versus Union of India, where the right to privacy was declared as a fundamental right. And that's what we loosely call as the privacy judgment. Then, Justice B.N. Krishna, Shri Krishna Committee constituted by Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, and they submitted the first draft bill in 2018. It was sent to Parliament Joint Parliamentary Committee in 2019. From 19 to 21, there were 78 sittings, in the Joint Parliamentary Committee review, extensive stakeholder consultations, and in December 21, a revamped bill was placed in the Parliament. In 2022, again it was earlier called PDP bill. It was Personal Data Protection Bill. The prefix D was not there. It was again withdrawn to create a simpler modern version. And then in 2022 November came the DPDP bill, shorter principle-based draft published by MIT. And August 23 is when it saw the light of the day, where the Digital Personal Data Protection Bill was passed, introduced in Lok Sabha, passed by Lok Sabha, passed by Rajya Sabha, got the president assent in August 23. And after a lull of 2 years, the notification of the DPDP rules has been there on 14 November 2025. So this has been the evolution, and that's why we are talking about it today. We are on 10th December, barely 25 days back. This entire thing got notified, and here we are. Okay. Now, phase-wise implementation. Now, furor or confusion in the industry could be that now suddenly how we are not prepared, and we may not be focusing on this DPDP till now, and suddenly now what are we supposed to do overnight and things like that. So don't worry, it's a phase-wise implementation framework. People who would have read the act and the rules. So phase 0, which is say today, DPDP rules 2025 notified under section 40, which is the rule making powers, and publication triggers phased enforcement framework, just like all other modern laws nowadays. Phase 1 is core framework and institutional setup. This is immediately made applicable, which is definitions have come into force, which is what we will cover today as well. Appointment and establishment of DPBI, which is Data Protection Board of India under section 14 and 19. Commencement and extent of the act, commencement provision, and general rule making power. So essentially, if you see, definitions and administrative provisions have been put into operation immediately, so that the government can now go ahead and appoint or make the Data Protection Board of India. It has been notified, and another notification has come, by the way, recently after this 14 November, that DPBI will be constituted in the NCT of Delhi. So that's where it starts. And rule making, the first rule have been notified, but other rules are also there are provisions for other rule making provisions. So those are also expected now in times to come. Now, phase 2, within 12 months of the notification of the rules, that is till November 2026, consent manager enablement. So again, this is I would say administrative provision. There are concepts of consent managers in the act. Now, consent manager, unlike to the normal understanding, even I had an understanding until I read it. I thought consent manager would be a person within an organization who would probably collect consent from different individuals of the data that they are giving. But it's a completely different thing. Consent manager will be companies who have certain kind of net worth and standing and experience, etc., who will act as an intermediary providing consent services to organizations. So maybe the legislature recognize that, since so much of data requires consents, etc., companies may not have the framework or the IT readiness to manage consent. So probably an intermediary acting as a consent manager, maybe with some software and some frameworks, giving this as a service to organizations that, okay, if you need to collect certain data from certain people, I will act as a consent manager and maybe charge a nominal fee per transaction or retainer or whatever that is. So that is what consent manager is. So government will be appointing or instituting certain body corporates as consent manager intermediaries, whose job will be to administer the act and take consents and give these consent taking services to their clients, which is all of us. Then actual implementation comes in 18 months from today, not today, from 14th November 2025, which is say till May 2027, which is where we need to do all what the Act asks us to do. So essentially, we are getting 18 months to prepare for it. Now, should you start next year? Should you start 17 months down? No, because this is huge. It is not like any other law where three returns to be filed and one committee to be formed and one policy to be made and compliance is done. Not at all. It is huge. It requires complete understanding of the data, what is being collected. Let me give you an example. Like say hospital. Uh, Now, a hospital, right from the time when the OPD patient, enters the hospital, certain data is generated, in the OPD. When the OPD becomes an IPD, which is like an admission, for somebody, unfortunately, if you have experience of sort of admissions in hospitals, uh, what kind of data is sort of collected, what kind of files are made, all that medical records, health records, test data, this, that, whatever. Then, through the entire process, pre, post, during, huge amount of data is collected about that person. Now, this was a complicated example, or requiring huge amount of data. Think of a simpler example, like even a hotel. Even hotel is not that simple, but still, to make it simple, when you check in into a hotel, you provide your Aadhaar cards, you provide your PAN cards, you provide copies of your credit card, etc. Now, how is the hotel storing that sort of those records? Are they of course scan it in front of us and they store it digitally? What kind of servers are they using? How our credit card, they block it, they take our passwords, they block it. Even if you don't sort of check out properly, they have the rights to swipe your cards and debit the account, etc. How to ensure that those card statements, those Aadhaar cards are not misused. Their one of the receptionists is not sort of taking a sneak peek and using it for taking another telecom license, or swiping it in another in her own account, etc., etc. These are questions which I'm sure would have cropped many of our minds even when we were checking and giving all these details. But then the good part is, I mean, we may still not know how every organization where it is saving. I mean, while the law gives a lot of rights for us to know our rights and duties and how our data is being where is being stored or processed, but then uh, more obligation on the corporates and those kind of hotels and hospitals and businesses to ensure that all this is being done as per the act. And if not done, then there are heavy, extremely exemplary penalties for non-compliances here, running into crores of rupees, which we will cover. Now, the mandatory provisions in phase 3 are consent and notice under section 456, data principle, which is all of us, what are our rights, what are our duties, what are the data processor responsibilities or data fiduciary responsibilities, yeah, cross-border transfers, security breach exemptions, and penalties. So, few things, come here. And of course, penalties and blocking orders and adjudications, all that will be after phase 3. So immediately, like once the act comes into full play, these penalty provisions also come into play, because the moment you do not comply with what was mandatorily required to be complied, will then start the hearings and cases and penalty orders and adjudications and blockings and injunctions and stays and litigation. So this is where we are as far as DPDP is concerned. Now, since we'll be today's webinar, next sort of 30 minutes, I'll be focusing on these few things only, which is important for us to prepare in the next 18 months. But again, as I said, we don't need to wait for 18 months. 18 months, will pass just like a jiffy. If the entire organization readiness has to be there, it has to be done today, so that we know what is to be done. Some systems may have to be changed, processes may have to be changed, business impact will be there could be cost implications. There is huge, treated like a what, for example, Sarbanes-Oxley or JSOX or US SOX, if you have any of you working in multinationals have been exposed to, think of it like that kind of an exercise where it can't be done overnight. There needs to be huge top level engagement and preparation done here.
Welcome to Complinity Technologies. Complinity is India's leading governance, risk and compliance software helping companies to manage their compliance, contracts, litigation, legal updates, inter-financial controls and more. Complinity is a one-stop shop for all GRC needs. With our proprietary 12 GRC modules and real-time legal updates on 2,000 plus laws and 24,000 plus compliances, all in an integrated platform that is easy to use with automated alerts and risk management capabilities, is why compliance managers, general counsels and chief financial officers choose Complinity every time. Join the most innovative and prestigious brands that use Complinity. Automating your compliance management. Request a demo at complinity.com.